All right, all right. Welcome back to the show. It's Christine Jewell, and this is the Breaking Chains podcast. And today I want to talk to you about what does it mean to be a power couple territory. I think that this is an area where so many people that reach out to me because something is going on in their marriage. Something's probably going on in your marriage. Maybe it's amazing. And if so, I celebrate. But I have a lot of people that reach out and say, man, we're just not on the same page. I really, really desire to have like harmony in my marriage. I want to be on the same page. I want to be kicking butt, taking names. I want to be conquering the world together. I want to be a power couple, right? And I get it. I used to be like that too. And I was like, man, I just had this dream. I was like, God, I just see us like being a power couple, conquering the world. That was literally my language. And I think it's cool because I do believe that's what we're created for in a sense. Like God created man and woman, He put them in the garden. He's like, multiply, prosper, fill the earth, like do amazing things and do it all to glorify God, right? It went sideways because of selfish ambitions and jealousy and envy and hiding and deceit. But that is God's design for us is to multiply, prosper each other, prosper together, and do super abundantly more together than we could ever do on our own. So, why do so many people basically suffer in these stagnant, unfulfilling, disconnected relationships? So, I want to talk about, 10 mistakes and 10 things that I think are essential if you want to play in power couple territory. And I also want to just quickly, before we jump in, say this. It doesn't matter what your current situation is. It does not matter what your current marital situation is. You could be in a totally divided, disconnected, two separate worlds. And I will tell you that God has done miracles in my life. He's done miracles in my clients' lives, where if you really dedicate your heart to this mission of getting things in the right order and you allow God to get to work in your marriage, He will start to bring things up to the surface that need to be revealed, that need to be healed, that need to be worked through so that you guys can come together stronger than ever. I have seen marriages that were completely broken, separate, come together and have a completely new marriage, basically with the same person, because it's a completely new dynamic. You're bringing two new identities, totally upgraded mindsets, fresh hearts, healed people to the relationship. And it becomes like the new wineskin. So I just wanted to say that for those of you who maybe have felt a little like you've lost hope in really the dream that you have for your marriage, that God can do so much in us and through us if we just get out of the way. We stop trying to control everything. We stop trying to change the other person, which I'm going to have already just said a couple of things. And we really get to work on our hearts, our part, and we trust God to do His part in our partner. Now, if we are two people that are like, yes, we want to really operate this way as a couple, then awesome. This podcast is also going to be relevant for you because it'll show you areas that you two can get to work on. So, first of all, I wanted to say that. Secondly, I want to define what is a world power couple versus a kingdom power couple. Because to be honest, when I was in my 20s and even in my 30s, I was like, I want to be a power couple. But it was all about the world's way. If you look through Instagram, all you need to do is like scroll your reels, and what do you see? All the fancy cars, right? The sexy hot six packs, the toned bodies, the fancy watches, the like perfectly manicured hair and nails, and all the external things are shiny and beautiful and perfect. And I'm not saying that's not true. I don't know because I'm not here to judge and it's not my job. But she's crushing it. He's crushing it. They're both like killing it in business. She's fiercely independent. He's fiercely independent. And I want to tell you that I bought into that lie. I bought into that deception. And so in my 20s and 30s, that's what I thought a power couple was. It's like, I'm fiercely independent. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to be crushing it, right? Like I'm crushing it in business. And I have my dreams and he has his dreams and I got my ways and he has his ways, and we have all the things, and it's amazing, and we look great, and everyone looks up to us, and we're doing this and we're doing that and I'm doing this. What do you hear as the theme? me, us. It's all about us. It's all about me. It's still so ego driven and it's so surface driven, externally, things of the external. So I just want to really challenge you guys right now. Some of you that have been maybe thinking, like, man, I just really want this amazing relationship. Now would be a great time to define what power couple territory really means to you. Because if you want more of that external, shiny, kick butt, take names, conquer the world externally, everything's hot and amazing, I'm not saying you're not going to get that. But if that's what it's about, you're trying to, like, it's a lot of self glorification. And, beauty, I think we get more beautiful as we age, but time wears off on a lot of these things. And we can't take our physical things with us when we pass. And the amount of people that I've talked to and spoken to that have more than enough physical wealth and yet are more unfulfilled than ever is crazy. So there is that power couple dynamic, which is the world's power couple. And then I believe that there is the kingdom power couple dynamic. And what is the difference? Well, I think a couple key differences, when I think about our heart is first and foremost postured towards God. We are united together. I'm going to go through these actually. Let me just not jump ahead of myself. But as I talk today, I want to talk to those of you who really want to go, you know what? I want more than that. I know that sounds like a lot, all that superficial stuff, great. But I really want to operate in the seek ye first the kingdom and then everything else is added to me. Like I want us to be kicking butt, taking names super tight, and really flourishing from a different level, not just the physical. And so here we go. Number one, power couples, kingdom style, right? Like kingdom is like we reflect the tapestry of heaven on earth. Like we are united. So, number one is that unification. We are united in our vision. We are united in our mission. We are united in our values. In January, Mark and I picked this word unification, supernatural unification for our word of the year. And oh my gosh, we need to do a follow up episode because what we thought it was going to be, it has evolved into so much more, right? As it always does. You have one idea and it evolves. But when we talk about supernatural unification, I'm talking about, yes, I have my own vision and I may have my own values because I'm an individual person. Of course, I'm going to have my unique ideas about things. I have unique gifts, unique talents, a unique personality to bring to the table. But kingdom level unification and marriage, it's like, man, we are going above our individual vision, values, mission. They're not competing with one another anymore, but we're like so clear on a united vision that's big enough that both of our dreams can be realized and so much more. We are not just about our dreams and our visions, but we're like, God, what dreams do you have for us? And what are you doing in our communities, in our industries, in the world that you want us to get together, link arms, and be like warriors, partners, stewards in. Okay. It is totally different. So, again, if you think about what most couples do, is like, well, I got my dreams. I got my dreams. Well, I've got my vision. I got my goals. Well, I got my goals. And everything is a competition. Well, I got my values. Well, that's not my value. Well, I don't want to do it that way. And there's so much conflict. There's so much like grinding and friction because we're like misaligned, right? We're misaligned because we're self-focused first. We're misaligned because we're self-focused first. And so what ends up happening is we often experience marriages that feel like they're very competitive or transactional, or it's like if one of us wins or one of us gets the head, the other one is like somehow suffering or gets left behind or feels left behind. And so it's like this tug of war all the time. So number one, united, getting a united vision, united goals, united values, united mission that is greater than the individual, both of you. There's the us vision, right? There's the us values. Like you may have your own things, right? But then there's the you that makes the oneness that is the two of you. And then there's the God sized values, vision, mission, and goals. And you can see how many more layers there are to this beyond just us, like the individual. Right now, we're going way beyond the individual into the whole, the oneness, the sacred oneness, the unification. So that's number one, united. Number two, this is so basic, and it's a big mistake. So mistake number one is not having clear unification around vision, values, mission, uh, and not having a vision that's bigger than the both of you. Number two is speaking ill will over each other, right? Like if you want to be a kingdom couple, you need to be speaking life over the situations in your life together. You need to be speaking life over the things in your life together. Recently I met someone and she was lovely. She was a beautiful person. And this is not uncommon, you guys. And I used to do this all the time. Sometimes I catch myself. It's rare. It doesn't really happen that much. But when circumstances come up in business or in life or whatever, it's so easy to start grumbling and start complaining. Be like, oh my gosh, here you go again. Here we go again. Here it comes again. This other thing. I want to really call those of you who want to be like warrior kings and queens. If a battle comes up against you, and you want to operate as a kingdom power couple, you need to be speaking victory over those things in your life when they're presenting themselves to you. It's not your problem or his problem. It's the collective. It's like we are in this together. Whatever comes at us, we override this together because we are one. And two is stronger than the one individual. And when there's a cord of three, which is us and God, right? Like we are unbreakable. We are unshakable. So we establish this solid footing. So we must get a unified front on the battles in our life. That is not my stuff versus your stuff. It is our stuff and it's God's stuff. Because if we're up against a battle, it's not just our battle, it's God's battle. Right. And so you got to learn how to speak victoriously over the things in your life. Again, if you grew up in an atmosphere where it was very, you had to be fiercely independent. You watch your mom fend for herself, dad fend for himself. Well, that's your problem, not my problem. These are the mistakes I see. I hear this stuff. Well, that's not my thing. They're not my kids. Mark and I have a blended family. It's not my kids, not my problem. That's something I would have said in my past life. But in this life, everything that God has put in front of us, everything is addressed as a collective thing. It's like, okay, we got this. How are we going to navigate this? Which brings me to number three, which is to speak life over each other. Okay, so number one, unified vision, mission, values, goals, bigger than the both of you. Number two is you are linking arms. The situations in your life are not his things versus your things. There are things, and if there are things, that means that they're God things. So like we are linking arms. We are attacking this together. We are in it to win it together. There's no separation. Number three is we speak life over each other. Oh my gosh, I wish that I could really drive this home. But it's so easy if you are in the world system, you're comparing each other. Well, I did this. Well, you do this. Well, I did this. You do this. You always do this. You never do this. And even in coaching calls, even in close quarters, it's very easy to be like, well, he always does this. She always does that. We have to be so careful of the words we speak over the other person. Again, recently I met a beautiful lady. She was really sweet. And I know that it was a divine appointment. We met her in Italy. But as I met her, she was just really, I could tell she was distraught. She was super stressed out and total stranger, right? But just started pouring into Mark and I about her marriage. And it's kind of like a broken marriage. And she's really been struggling with her husband. But a lot of her language was about everything that he doesn't do, everything that he can't do, everything that his family had done to wrong them. So the external circumstances. And there was so much of her life force and her energy and her words being spoken either in pain or anger or ill over the family or over him. One of the things I said to her, and I'm not going to use her name, is like, if you're open and you're willing, can I work with you on the power of your words? Because every time you speak, you're either speaking life or death over him. You're either creating more of everything that's been showing up, or you're starting to redirect the things in the atmosphere. I invited her to start to speak life over her husband, even though he wasn't presenting like that. Okay. Even though he wasn't acting like it, even though he wasn't talking like it, like, can you speak life over the person, even when they're not showing up the way you want them to? This is what I'm talking about, overriding the world, which is like, look, I'll believe it when I see it, which is true in some things. Like, you want to observe people's character, but I also know that people also rise and fall to the others people's expectations of them. So if you expect your spouse to always let you down, if you expect them to disappoint you, if you expect them to make a mess, if you expect them to leave you hanging, people will rise and fall often to the words spoken over them and the expectations others have of them from the right place. So speak expectantly over your spouse, not just in public over them. I think it's so important how you speak in public about your spouse, over your spouse, especially when they're not there, especially when they're in front of you, also when they're not there, and especially in private. We can pray like, God, just work on his heart, work on his character. Thank you that I could see him the way you see him. One of the things I do often is pray for my husband, and the vision that God gives me of him, and the vision that God has for him that I can't even see yet, right? Like, him as the leader of our family that I don't even know yet. And he's a great leader, but I also know that you are continuing to increase his greatness and increase his character and everything. And I just thank God already for the future version of my husband, as well as being super grateful for the version that I have. Now, I want to be full disclosure on this. I'm not perfect at this. There are times where I get grumbly, I get moody. Okay, I'm human. But this has been something that has been so huge, because in the past, I was a master at paper cutting the men in my life, always pointing out everything that they did wrong, complaining about it to my girlfriends, complaining about it to this person. And I want to say that there's a space to be able to share your heart and your concerns if you have legitimate concerns, or you need wisdom, you need counsel. But it's different than complaining, gossiping, grumbling, and continuing to feed it like you're commiserating. We have to be so careful with this, which brings me to number 4, which is they surround themselves with wise counsel. Going back to my previous message or previous point before, a lot of couples struggle to really have this like strong united front, this power couple territory, because they have given authority to all kinds of people, friends, to come into their life, to have opinions about their marriage, to give them input on what they think about their husband, their business, this and that, in-laws, sisters, friends, maybe people at work. And we have opened the gates of our marriage to everyone else. I am fiercely protective of the territory, which, by the way, is another point, right? So now I just hit 2 of them. Surround yourself with wise counsel. And number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, be fiercely protective of the territory of your marriage. Let's talk about wise counsel. Who are the people in your life that reflect the kind of relationship, the heart that you want to model? That would be wise counsel. If you are taking your relationship stuff to someone whose relationship you don't respect, whose relationship you wouldn't want to model, whose heart posture is different than yours, whose value systems are not aligned with yours, they're going to give you poor advice. They're going to give you foolish advice. In the last episode, I talked about discernment. This is a moment for discernment, right? Who and what am I going to listen to? Who and what am I going to allow to give me input? So, one of the things that we've gotten fierce about is really saying, okay, who will get access uh, to us in terms of the most intimate parts of us, and also who will we go to for counsel, for mentorship? We have mentors, we work with coaches, we have a handful of friends that we hold really dear, who we know are really like their heart is in the right place, their spirit is right, that we can go to, that we can seek counsel, that we can pray together, and we can do that together. So it's important that you guys have people in your life as a couple and individually that you can lean on in times of stress, pressure, tension, conflict, that will really love you both and root for you both and focus on getting you guys really united again. instead of dividing you and commiserating with you and gossiping or whatever, or projecting their wounds onto you. Okay. Number 5 was fiercely protecting the territory of your marriage. I mean, I cannot stress this enough, but the world's ways, again, like, I got this, I got this, I got this. Oh, it's fine. It's no big deal. It's no big deal. I'm going to go on work trips. Of course, I have to drink with people. Like, that's just how what you do. Like, when you're on work trips, you have to entertain clients, right? Like, you have to go out to dinner. So, we see people a lot operating in the world, putting themselves in compromising situations in the name of, well, this is what you do in order to. When we say, you know what, we're going to be a power couple, we're going to build a moat around our marriage. We're not going to put ourselves in situations where we may be tempted when we're tired, we're stressed out, we're exhausted. We're not going to put ourselves in situations that are going to open doors to maybe like emotional intimacy with other people. We're just not going to. Our heart's in the right place, but we're also human, right? You guys we're still human. We still get exhausted. We get stressed out. We still get irritated with each other at times. And so it's like, how are you protecting the territory of your marriage? And I think this is an ongoing conversation. And everybody has different hows, different rules of engagement or whatever that feel in alignment with your values, that feel in integrity for you. But I think this is something that you decide for as a couple. And I just want to say, if there has been betrayal, trust has been broken in the past, then this is really, really, really important. It's important to be proactive, to say, how are we going to protect the territory of our marriage and our home by what we watch, right, on TV, what we entertain through the news or through gossip, like what we invite into our home, what situations we put ourselves in. So I want to say that kingdom power couples are ruthless about their boundaries, is what I'm saying. Okay. We are ruthless about our boundaries as a unit to protect what's inside. It's not made out of fear, it's to protect the integrity of the whole. You want to build a moat around your castle, around your marriage. All right. Number 6, establish peace. Okay, I love Colossians 3. It's one of my favorite verses. And I've really leaned on it a lot because I grew up in a chaotic home. It was very tumultuous. It was like I never knew, was it going to be a happy day, a sad day? Was there going to be screaming? Was there going to be like emotional unavailability? Was there going to be a lot of love? Like it was very chaotic with my father. And so this is such a beautiful thing for me as I've really learned to establish peace as a norm inside of my house. And so I want to say kingdom power couples normalize a home of peace versus chaos, a home of calm versus drama. So if you grew up in a chaotic upbringing and it was dramatic and you're an entrepreneur and you're used to always being on high alert and going, calm, peace will feel unfamiliar to you. It felt unfamiliar to me. And so I love that God tells us we are holy, we're set apart, and we are called to put on a heart of compassion, of gentleness, of patience, to be gracious with each other, to be willing to forgive each other instead of holding grudges against each other, right? And to let the peace of Christ, which is the inner calm of the Spirit that's in you. The peace of Christ is that inner calm of the Holy Spirit. Again, he's not chaotic. He doesn't scream and yell. He doesn't throw temper tantrums. Let that peace be the controlling factor in your heart, in your home. Now, maintaining a home of peace, a home, an environment, an atmosphere where we are going to be grounded and calm and be able, it doesn't mean you're not going to disagree. It means that we have a standard for how we engage in conflict. We're able to talk about things. We're able to normalize having different opinions and not get triggered and reactive and feel like everything is an attack, but we can be curious, right? We can be compassionate with one another. We can be patient with each other. So I think this is so huge as we think about, am I normalizing peace? Are we establishing peace in our home? And this goes from kids to adults. Or are we establishing chaos and drama and pressure and fear-based responses and reactivity, right? Kingdom power couples, you want to be one? Calm, grounded. It is a grounding place to be in your presence. All right. And again, I want to say there's so many things I could add here, but I just wanted to go with 10 just for today's podcast. So I'm going to go through these. Um, I want to say this. Number 6. Where are we at? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7. I think that as we pray, if you want to be a kingdom power couple, you got to pray together. This is a non-negotiable. When you pray together, you're making legal agreements together in the spiritual realm. You are uniting forces emotionally, mentally, spiritually. It's great to go out there together and get things done together and do the actions, the physical, but it has been a game changer in my life. And it is something that I always wanted before, but praying together felt awkward. I never really did it. I was like, I don't even know, like, what would we pray over? Like, do we just recite these little prayers? And I want to say, like, it's just a conversation, right? You're just sharing your heart with each other. You're sharing your heart with God. And imagine, like, you guys are just meeting with the one who knows everything about your life, the one that knows everything about your marriage, the one that knows everything about your children, about your future, the one who has every answer on everything you guys are seeking guidance on. And you're literally coming together to get quiet together, to share what's on your heart. And you just pray about it and just ask for wisdom together and then just sit. Like, literally, can you sit together? Right? And just be still. Can you share what comes through together? So praying together it's a superpower. Literally, that's what it is for marriage. And as you pray together, it also gives you an opportunity to speak together, because words create reality, to speak together and affirm together that which you desire over your life, over your children, over your finances. So when we come together, Mark and I are praying, we're like, hey, this is happening. We are saying thank you for this. We are receiving this. We're grateful that this is already happening in our children's lives. We are believing for this, right? And every time that we speak together and we agree together, you're making agreements physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Okay, this is a holistic way to join forces. Then obviously we move forward, right? Okay, I'm going to say this next one. This is 8. Know their roles. Okay, woo, what does that mean? What does it mean to know your roles? Okay, this is a big one, and I don't have hours to go into this, but kingdom power couples are not competing for attention. They're not in a power struggle, because they have unified vision, they have a unified mission, they have unified values, they know their roles, not only as man and woman, husband and wife in their marriage, right? They've established, like, hey, this is the roles, but also our roles in this season, our roles in this project, because we're in it to win it together, right? I don't have to compete with you. I don't have to prove to you that I'm strong enough. I don't have to prove to you that I'm more powerful than you or more capable than you. It's like we're interdependent on each other. We're on the same team. We're playing for the same team, right? And at the end of the day, you know if you have a team and you got two players out there that are competing to see who's stronger, who's faster, who's got the goods, they're always competing with each other. It's actually a detriment to the team. So I see this a lot in the world's power couples, quote unquote, that we see. That's like, man, which one's stronger? Which one's fitter? Which one's more successful? Oh, and it's almost like the roles look a little bit blurry, right? Or they're trying to play the same roles, or it looks like they hold the same role. But in a kingdom power couple, we've talked about it. We know our roles, and we are able to honor our roles, and we're able to trust that if right now I'm in a season of maybe more of a support role for this, and then there's a season where I'm more up front, I don't have to feel threatened, because we're doing it together. We're not putting one above the other. With this, and I'm not going to get into this on this podcast, it's also recognizing our roles as a male. God had a design for a man as the provider, the protector, the pursuer in a relationship. And he has a design for female, woman, right, to be the nourisher, the life giver, the multiplier. Obviously, we both feed the relationship with affection and we pursue one another, but they're just God given roles that when we step into them, it's like boom, it's like rocket fuel for our marriage. And I will speak to this as a woman who bought a distorted lie that I needed to be my own protector, my own provider, my own, like, I could do everything I wanted. I could do everything a man could do and more. And I had all this programming that the world dropped in, and also just kept being a self fulfilling prophecy because that's how I kept living. That was really exhausting to my nervous system. It burned me out. It actually had me fighting against the man in my life. It had me pushing away resources, help, support, because I needed to prove that I could do it all myself. But when we go, okay, you know what? I'm actually designed to receive and receive abundantly. And when something is given, I can multiply because I'm a multiplier. Wow. This doesn't mean that I'm not able to bring in revenue or anything like that. But, God created the feminine to be the multiplier effect. When there is a great structure and there is great leadership and there is great provision, and by the way, provision can be financial provision, emotional provision, like he provides structure, he provides, the container, maybe financial, emotional safety, provides safety. The feminine flourishes, right? When it's emotionally safe, physically safe, she knows that her basic needs are met. A woman can now start to multiply. And that is a beautiful thing, you guys. That is a beautiful thing when your relationship gets into this dynamic. All right. So let's see. We did united, envision, values, goals, pray together over each other, speak life over your uh, situations in your life together, speak life over each other, right? Know your roles, surround yourselves with wise counsel, fiercely protect the territory of your marriage. I want to say this: focus more on what's done in private than what is done publicly. I'm going to say that again. Focus more on what's done privately than what's done publicly. That's another key point. Kingdom power couples know what's done behind closed doors, what's done in secret is it is then, advanced publicly. We're not chasing the public approval, the public accolades, the public significance. We're seeking first to get things right on the inside. Again, you hear me say this all the time: God is a God of order. We've got to get things right behind closed doors. We've got to, first of all, starting with our hearts, our spirit, our internal game, inside the closed doors of our marriage, of our family. And then we worry about going out and conquering more territories, buying more businesses, expanding, growing, right? We've got to get right on the inside before we can multiply, because that having more of something just makes you more of what you already are. So if you're lonely and you have more, you're just going to feel more lonely. It just multiplies what you already are. So power couples focus on the internal game first and work from the inside out. They focus on the private, like behind the closed doors. World power couples, the mistake is to try to get everything else right on the outside and then get to work on the inside, right? Once we have all this stuff and we got our businesses in order and everything else, then we'll work on our marriage being amazing. And I'm here to tell you that's inverted inside out thinking. Okay, it's going to be way longer, way harder, way slower. You may never even get there if you do it that way. And I want to say this last piece. So we've talked about unified goals. We've talked about choosing the words you speak over each other. I've talked about choosing really how your language around issues in your life, not making issues his or yours, but putting situations in front of you and tackling them together. We've talked about establishing peace as the normal. We've talked about knowing your roles, surrounding yourself with wise counsel, building a moat, fierce boundaries to protect the life, the joy, the fun, the adventure, the passion inside of your marriage. Man, that could be a whole series right there. And I want to say this last piece as we hop. Kingdom power couples, they have total dependency on God. So here's the thing: in the world, independence is where it's at, baby. And I was the fiercely independent woman, and that was celebrated. That was something like so many people want, man, I want that like independent woman. And yes, and I'm still very independent. I have a lot of confidence in my abilities and my talents, all these things. I have a lot of confidence. But the next level confidence comes from what's way bigger than me, right? It's like, I know that I am so limited in my own ways, but I'm unlimited. I'm limitless when I get together with God, with my husband. And so we cap ourselves when we play this fierce independence game, because you've got to do everything. You've got to be the source of everything. You've got to do it or it's not going to get done right. If it's not, if it's got to be, it's up to me. You're the fixer, you're the savior, you're the doer. It gets heavy. You're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. You're trying to save everybody. It's exhausting. It leads to burnout, resentment, bitterness. But power couples know it ain't about me being all that. It's about us being interdependent on each other. So there's dependency, not codependency, where I'm so dependent on you that you're the source of everything for me. By the way, I did a podcast on codependent relationships and interdependency. I did a 3-part series. So if you guys want to learn more about codependency and relationships and interdependency, you can go back and watch that series. We're not talking about being so dependent on the other person. You have no unique thoughts, no unique identity, no unique hobbies. You are an individual person, individual needs. You are a unique signature. You have unique talents, unique gifting, unique purpose. You are your own person, but God puts us together. And what makes us amazing as a power couple is now it's not 1 + 1 = 2. It's 1 + 1 equals exponential increase. It's multiplication power. We're bringing 100% of what I got, 100% of what you got. And we're like, boom, now we're playing the exponential game. Now we're depending on each other. Where I am weak, you are strong. Where you are weak, I am strong. We complement each other, but we don't complete each other. Okay, here's the thing. What completes us is actually God. Now we depend. So we come together, we join forces. It's not me against you. We're not transacting. We don't have a weird codependent thing where I have to depend on you as a source and I've got you on a pedestal and everything you do will disappoint me and let me down and I can't function. But I trust you. I love you. I show up. I speak life over you. I respect you. And I also know, that our dependency is actually on God, right? So we move forward with this unshakable faith. Now, I know this may be like, oh man, Christine, that sounds amazing. That's like way out there in the stratosphere. Like that sounds crazy. How do we get there? Remember, I'm talking about it's a vision, right? It's a kingdom vision. It's something to strive for and to operate from today. And some days it'll feel like we're crushing it. And some days it'll be like, man, we just deviated right back to that old codependent, fierce, independent behavior. And that's okay. We give each other grace, we forgive, and we do better tomorrow. So this is not about perfection. It's about progress. It's about checking in and just saying, where are we operating most of the time? Are we in the world's landscape of trying to build this like idea of being a strong, independent power couple that's got their stuff together, but really it's all about us and it's really me against you. And we don't really have any unification or peace. And we're not fighting together on issues. We don't have shared vision and values. It looks good on the outside. Or do we actually have something that's really like united, right? Like the bond that unites you guys it's true love. It's not like the love like I love you and you love me. There's a supernatural kind of love that you have invited to come in to take root in your marriage, and that is what you are allowing to be the glue. So I just invite you today to consider, what does a power couple relationship look like, sound like to me? When was the last time you redefined it? And I invite you and I challenge you to even differentiate between the world's definition of a power couple versus what you believe a kingdom power couple is, or a really unified couple that operates from this sacred divine union that we are created for. And I invite you to consider these 10 things that I talked about today. And where do you fall in this? Where can you begin to just get a little bit better, right? Pick one area, focus on that for a bit, and just observe what begins to shift in your environment. You guys, I want to thank you again for being here today. If this landed, if this is hitting home, please rate, review, leave us a review. This is how like the podcast gets more listeners, more views, more like people involved. And if you guys want to go deeper into the conversation and learn more about how you can build a thriving relationship, become a power couple, I invite you to reach out for coaching and mentorship. I take a handful of couples at a time that I work with. We have a relationship mastery retreat coming up later this year. That'll be for a handful of couples, like an immersion style where you come and you do a 3-day intensive with Mark and I. It's going to be amazing. So if you want to learn more about coaching, mentorship, or our relationship mastery retreats, click on the link below, fill out the form. But definitely make sure you subscribe, rate, and share this podcast with someone in your ecosystem who needs to hear this. Thank you guys for being here. Much love to you. We'll see you in the next episode.